Hello, a very good morning and welcome along to your Midweek Ireland AM.
I know it's Wednesday already. We're here till 10 with great guests, good grub, just it's going to be really good, and all your latest news.
It is great to have you with us. Now, if there's something strange in your neighbourhood, who are you going to call?
Not even close to Halloween yet.
After 9, one of TV's best-known Ghostbusters and my wife's favourite person of all time, Yvette Fielding, is going to drop by for a chat a little bit later.
Like, you need to change your job so that you can get Lucy to start liking you again.
I'm already into it, but she loves it, yeah.
You'll do it, though. He'll watch it. From sellout shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival to performing alongside Russell Howard, Cork comic Andrew Ryan will be checking in just a little while. I love him.
Shortly, we're going to look forward we're going to look back at Liz Truss's turbulent first month as Prime Minister ahead of her speech at today's Conservative Party conference.
I think it's been going really well. Alan, what else have we got in the way this morning?
Yes, poor Liz. Well, now, motoring journalist Geraldine Herbert has the lowdown on a sophisticated new technology that car thieves are using to steal your vehicles. You'll want to stay tuned for that. And Deric is in Wexford this morning. Deric, it looks like we're going to need the brolly again today.
Absolutely. Good morning. We're live down here in Wexford town this morning. Plenty of heavy rain once again. It's been non-stop for the last couple of days. In fact, more widespread showers, heavy and thundery with that ongoing risk of flooding. But guys, we come down here to the not so sunny southeast this morning because we're off to visit the Irish Agricultural Museum. So think old school tractors, old time thrashers, and Muireann, I could even see yourself on an old Massey Ferguson. Muireann and the Massey. It's got a ring, doesn't it?
Do you like the Massey? Yeah.
We're a Massey family.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
right?
we're a Massey Ferguson family. Just to let you know.
I was always, if it's red, keep it in the shed. That's what we said. If it's blue, it's the one for you. Do you know what a blue one is, Alan?
No, what's a blue one?
A New Holland. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, look, he's riveted.
He's learning about the tractors this morning.
Townies don't know anything about that. They've no Massey Ferguson's a Ballyfermot, I'm telling you.
He's a John Deere guy. That's it. He's a John Deere guy. It's
now,
fine.
let's go up to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning. Well, the central bank says energy-driven inflation is causing uncertainty and challenges for domestic growth. As a result, it has reduced forecasts for growth in the domestic economy next year. That's in its quarterly bulletin out today. It's predicting higher inflation of up to 8% this year and 6.3% next year. To Ukraine now, where the army is advancing in the south and dozens of settlements have been retaken in the 4 regions Russia is annexing, according to Vladimir Zelensky. It comes as the US announced plans to give an additional $625 million in military aid to Ukraine.
President Biden spoke with President Zelensky to underscore that the United States will never recognize Russia's purported annexation of Ukrainian territory and will continue to support Ukraine as it defends itself from Russian aggression. President Biden informed President Zelensky that the United States is providing a new $625 million security assistance package to Ukraine as they continue to defend their country from Russia's invasion.
The US President Joe Biden is to visit Florida today to survey the damage caused by Hurricane Ian. The death toll in the state has soared to at least 106 people, while some areas worst affected are now completely unlivable.
A week since Hurricane Ian struck Florida, the search for survivors grows more desperate by the day. On the ground at Fort Myers Beach, one of the communities decimated by the storm, the destruction is clear to see. Teams here are working 24/7 as they go house to house in search of any signs of life.
It was a good day. You know, I mean, again, it's like you don't want to leave anybody behind. That's what we're here for. But then on the other hand, we didn't find anybody else. Yeah. It's a good thing.
In the community of St John's, floodwaters continue to pose a risk. Authorities are warning people that water levels are set to get even higher and expect further evacuations as a result.
This is a very slow decline, so we are talking about weeks of still flooding waters in certain areas.
And it's stressful and it's very frustrating for everybody. I mean, nobody wants to lose their house.
More than 164,000 residents have so far applied for assistance from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. US President Joe Biden will tour the worst affected areas today with the massive road to recovery ahead. Claire Egan, Virgin Media News.
Somalia is facing its worst drought in decades amid warnings from the United Nations of an impending famine. According to the UN, more than 1 million Somalian people have been displaced over the last year in search of food and water amid consecutive years of drought due to climate change. The Somalians' plight is being exacerbated by the lack of aid, the presence of an Islamic extremist group and the impact of the Ukraine conflict.
The war between Ukraine and Russia has worsened the situation of oil and wheat, which are not available. We bring the food all the way from Mogadishu, and the prices have skyrocketed since our land is dry and unproductive.
And that's all your news and sports for now. Up next, Deric has your weather.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Anne, and a very good morning to you at home, or if you're indeed streaming online on the Player. We're coming to you live here from Wexford Town this morning. We're off to visit the Irish Agriculture Museum in the next few months. So lots of farming fun coming your way over the next couple of hours. Anyway, let's take an opening look at weather together now with Martin Rigney on cameras this Wednesday morning, and a not so sunny southeast here this morning. Plenty of rain coming down here in Wexford Town, and a good bucket of the wet stuff falling through parts of the northeast into Leinster, to the southeast parts of Sligo, Leitrim, Roscommon, through North Fermanagh and into South Donegal. That corner through the northwest not escaping either now in those fresh and strong, locally gusty westerly winds. Now, right across the day, there is a good squeeze on those isobars, so it will be quite a windy day in store. It's that mixture of sunshine and showers leaning on the heavy and thundery side, with that ongoing risk of spot flooding out there today. So take her nice and handy on the roads. Top temperatures as well, slightly down, slightly cooler values there at 10 to 15. Finally then, tonight it'll dry out and clear out for times that rain clears out across the country. In behind it though, more of the wet stuff feeding in, and again quite a windy night in stores. Those winds veer to the southwest with overnight lows back to 7 to 11 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here down in Wexford Town at the moment. We'll catch you again back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote. Now, the lady's not returning, except it looks like she's on a merry-go-round at the minute. On the way, a look at Liz Truss's interesting few weeks in power. Back with you very shortly.
You're very welcome back. Now, first month in any new job can always be a tricky time, particularly when you're scrapping tax plans and dealing with claims of party coups.
I mean, you thought we were bad in our first month. I mean, we did better than that, surely. Here to talk about Liz Truss's tumultuous first month in office is a journalist with the Sunday Times, Aoife Moore. Good morning. And also, Enda Brady, journalist, joins us as well. Good morning, Enda. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I wish I was back in Wexford despite the rain.
You wish you were with Deric.
With Deric in the
going
rain.
to see castles and stuff, but you've got more important things to do, because we've got to talk about Liz Truss. She's going to be speaking to the Conservative Party conference this morning in Birmingham. And it's all come off the rails. How has it managed to go so wrong for Liz in a month in the job?
Look, I think what you need to really look at is the fact that an overwhelming majority of her own MPs actually wanted the other fella to get the job, Rishi Sunak. You know, he won the parliamentary vote, and then it went out to the members in the countryside, members of the Conservative Party, and the grassroots members decided they wanted Liz Truss, and that's what happened. But anyone who has worked with both politicians, the majority of them wanted Rishi Sunak. So the UK has ended up with Liz Truss off the back of 81,000 people voting for her, and there's a lot of discomfort here, there's a lot of disquiet, and I think inside the Conservative Party there's a lot of anger now that they've got it so wrong so quickly.
It's unrelenting attacks on her by backbenchers, by the public, and she's putting on a pretty bulletproof face, you know, in public. So today she has to come out with a big speech to try and unify her party and put on that, that unified front in the country. What is she going to do to try and pull it all together?
Well, I think the blame game is what you'll see from 11 a.m. So that's when she makes her speech, and she will blame Labour believe it or not, despite the Conservatives being in power for 12 years. She will blame Labour, she will blame COVID and Vladimir Putin and the war in Ukraine. So none of these problems are of her own making, according to Liz Truss. But in all honesty, the big problem was that mini budget she signed off on last Friday, which is widely being derided now as a catastrophe. I mean, the pound crashed. Britain's entire pension system was on the brink of collapse, and the markets have been spooked ever since. And the end result is it only ended with the Bank of England coming in with a £65 billion bailout. So she was directly responsible for that, and she has to own it. But what you'll see today is the blame game going on, and Liz Truss saying, stick with me, tough times, and we'll get there. But the bottom line really is, you know, giving tax cuts to the highest earners, people on over 150 grand a year, while everyone else is struggling to pay gas and electric bills this winter. And mortgage rates now, off the back of that mini budget, have rocketed. So people are really struggling here.
Yeah, 1,000 mortgages have been withdrawn from the market. I think someone did the sums, and the 65 billion that was spent in 4 days for kind of no reason because of these tax cuts is £3,500 since Jesus was alive. Every hour since Jesus was alive is what they've done. And Conservative commentators are talking now, Aoife, about she could be the last Prime Minister, if she's not ousted soon, of the Union, because we have got serious talks from, like, Scotland want a referendum again anyway. Wales are now starting to go, what the hell is going on here? And Northern Ireland. We have got secretaries of Northern Ireland. Steve Baker told the conference that relations with Ireland were not where they should be. It's not been great.
I would say it's not the worst they've ever been, but it's not where they should be. We have seen very conciliatory language for the first time from British secretaries about Brexit, especially Tory secretaries. You know, he said last week, listen, we did not put Ireland's situation at the front and centre. We didn't, you know, give it enough consideration. And that was roundly welcomed by the Taoiseach. It's the first time we've heard such language from the Tories. And I think what we're going to see now is that Liz Truss can't lose anymore. You know, she's had such a bad first month that she can't afford to make a mess of Brexit as well. So I actually think how deeply unpopular Liz Truss is with her own party and in Britain, it might work well in Brussels because she knows she needs to get a win somewhere. And the easiest one would be to say, well, I'm the person who sorted out Brexit. Boris Johnson couldn't sort out Brexit, but I sorted out Brexit.
But was she not very hard line about Brexit before this?
She was a Remainer.
Well, I know initially.
Yes.
But then to get her into where she is at the moment.
Yes.
She was very hard line.
She took apart the Northern Ireland Protocol.
Yeah, I would also say she was also once a Lib Dem and now she's a hardcore Conservative.
Yes, good point.
It's almost as if her beliefs, you know, aren't that rigid.
She also had the 45p tax rate and now she's not anymore.
She's not doing that. So yeah, she was a Remainer and then became this hardline Brexiteer. She was wanting to push through the Northern Ireland Protocol bill. She said that, you know, like for these people, I think Brexit is more a state of mind.
Yeah.
She very much played to that hardline Brexiteer part of the party. Now she's playing to this hardline, the think tanks and the people that she's listened to over tax, things like this, the NHS, are very hardline. She's finding now that this is not popular. Like, I think the most jarring thing is in her speech today, her first speech as leader at the Conservative Party conference in her home constituency of Birmingham, not all MPs are going because there's a train strike tomorrow and they need to go home.
They have to go home because of the train strike. It's like everything that's happening at the same time. And Enda, we saw at the Conservative Party conference yesterday, I mean, they were trying to get camera angles where people weren't asleep. It was like watching a comedy at some stage. And now in the UK, we're looking at Labour. And I think everyone was waiting until Angela Rayner was perhaps the leader before they became popular again. But they've got popularity like they've never had before. So the British people are really letting their feelings be known quickly.
Yeah, look, I'm talking to you from Oxfordshire here. I'm in the Henley-on-Thames constituency. This is Conservative grassroots. These people here have voted Conservative in this constituency for 100 years. And I'm talking to people every day who are telling me they're struggling, they're worried about their mortgages. They've had enough of Conservatives. And now Keir Starmer, you know, he's always been told that he's not cool enough, he's not trendy, he's not interesting enough. What Britain needs right now is strong and stable government from a serious politician. He doesn't have to do anything now. He just needs to keep going, keep his head down and watch this disaster unfold. And I mean, anyone who's worked closely with Liz Truss will tell you that she is spectacularly arrogant, very, very in tune with her own beliefs, and will not turn. She will not change. So they've got what they've got, and the Conservatives need to make the best of it now. But already there is talk of Boris Johnson mounting a comeback next year. That they will get rid of her.
The thing is, though, I mean, you said she's very confident. She's also just been called incompetent. And you think that Keir Starmer is seen as he's not sexy or whatever it is. But, I mean, if you heard from Liz Truss, I mean, she hid behind the doors for 4 days. And then she came out and did all those radio interviews. I mean, you can't see any way out for her because she needs to come out and be empathetic. She needs to try and warn to the public, but she just doesn't seem to have that in her. Like, she reads everything off a script. She's very robotic.
Yeah, she's very wooden. And, you know, I think watching her speak, you know, she went to Oxford University. She's obviously at some point academically bright, but I don't think she can be media trained. I don't think she's been managed very well. And I watched the Sky News interview with my friend Beth Rigby yesterday. Beth Rigby ate her alive. And I mean, it was so bad. That is like chapter 1 of media training, how not to do TV interviews. It was really bad. And now they're in this situation. Labour are on 54 percentage points. If there was a general election next week, you're looking at the kind of landslide that was last seen with Tony Blair in May '97.
I think it's interesting what Enda's saying now, because you deal with politicians every single day, and I think everyone's looking at this as a masterclass in what not to do. Because Dominic Cummings never let her go out and be on TV and talk to people.
I think the thing that makes people most nervous when you see her getting interviewed is these big pregnant pauses. She just doesn't say anything for like 10 seconds, which is really uncomfortable for the viewer when you're watching it.
I don't accept the premise.
There was very stark quotes from a Conservative MP in Sky News yesterday saying there was a lot of expletives, but they said when she's doing that pregnant pause, she's thinking of something ideological to say, because they have said she's not actually that bright. She just rehearses everything. Now, in her defence, can't believe I'm saying this, but I have spoken to people in the Department of Foreign Affairs who have worked with Liz Truss here in Ireland over Brexit, and they have said that she is not as dumb as she lets on, that this is very much a part of an act, because when she's in a room, she commands a room and she knows what she's talking about. Yeah.
So where does it go from here, Aoife? That's the big thing, because when we're seeing the huge majority that Labour now have if there was to be an election, like, what do you see actually happening?
I don't think there will be an election. I think the Tories will go out of their way to try and prevent that. I think if they can, they will. They know Labour has a record-breaking hold in the polls over them. We haven't seen anything like that since, I think, Tony Blair in the first election.
It's crazy.
So I think the Tories will go out of their way to try and hold on to it. Someone I read yesterday, a Conservative MP, said it's the difference between being wiped out in 2 years and wiped out completely. So I think they'll try and hold on to it. I do think we might see the end to the Brexit negotiations. I think we might see something there, because, as I said before, she can't lose something else.
She needs a win.
Yeah, she needs to win.
Will she get Stormont back? Like, this is what she's talking about now.
I mean, I'm 31 now, and I have learned that there's no point predicting anything when it comes to Stormont. The DUP are deeply held to their beliefs about the Northern Ireland Protocol, and their polling is showing that their voters are behind them 100%. They don't think that they should buckle on this. We have heard that Brussels are more willing to compromise further on what they had already said, but it does seem that they're going to need Britain to come to the table. They're going to need London to come to the table. But I do think this could spell good news for us in some way.
It'd be interesting to see, and particularly to see even what she comes out with today.
I can't wait for the speech today.
I cannot wait for the speech. I also am I'm just going to think all day of Aoife going, she's not as dim as she lets off. And Enda kind of going, you know, she should be a bit smarter.
That was the nicest thing that was said about her.
That was You've both been very nice. Enda Brady, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon. Enjoy the speech later on today. I'm sure you'll be watching it like you'll be watching the All-Ireland final. And Aoife Moore, thank you so much for joining us as well. Cheers.
Now, I won't be watching many All-Ireland finals of Wexford, and it's sorry, Enda, say that again. What's that?
a right of reply.
That's low. And I followed you. I cheered you on the pitch.
Hey, you've got Donegal Callan back in there now. He might
He
be able to fix things.
Donegal Callan's back.
Exactly.
There we go. He shouted Tommy Bow for you.
I was
over
only
the
messing.
years.
We're only messing. We're trying to put a smile on people's face ahead of this chaos that's going on.
And I'm very sorry to the people of Wexford. After the break, Ellen Coyne.
What can I say?
Ellen Coyne, who's from very close to Wexford, will be taking a closer look at today's top stories. Talk to you in a minute. Up.
Time to take a look at this morning's paper, starting with the Irish Independent. They lead with tax shock for 150,000 drivers as mileage levy is set to soar. Thousands of workers with company cars are set to be hit with a massive hike in tax.
The Examiner's front page, prepaid energy users at risk of being cut off. Home and business owners face further sustained increases in their energy costs because of extreme increases in wholesale energy prices, they've been warned.
Just 27% trust Sinn Féin to tackle crisis in cost of living is the top story on the Daily Mail. Just 27% of the public believe Sinn Féin can tackle the cost of living crisis, compared to 37% for the coalition government, a poll has found.
The Mirror's front page, Wagatha feud reignites. The Wagatha Christie row kicked off again last night after Rebecca Vardy was hit with a bill of €1.7 million for Colleen Rooney's legal costs, 90% of her legal costs.
And the Sun leads with, "You're having a laugh." Gangster John Gilligan was all smiles last night after his Spanish drugs and weapons trial was suspended following a no-show by his son Darren.
The Star's front page, time for a Zimo frame, John. Dishevelled John Gilligan has been told he will get 3 years jail for illegally exporting sleeping pills.
And joining us now with a closer look at what's making the news in this morning's papers is Irish Independent's Ellen Coyne. Good morning to you, Ellen. Great to have you with us. Let's talk about the Cabinet. So they've agreed to pay these 3 energy credits. When is it going to go into people's accounts, though?
So people can expect these energy credits in November, January and March. And I know certainly the first 2 of those will be very eagerly anticipated. We know mornings like this are darker and colder. At least 125,000 people in Ireland are already behind on their energy bills. And we know that the government and the energy companies are trying to grapple with what is increasingly becoming just a growing disaster for people. And people have a real sense of dread kind of going into the darker winter months. So we know yesterday at Cabinet, the government agreed that they'd have these 3 kind of €200 credits. They were flagged a long time ago, kind of ahead of the budget, so that the government was able to say to us, look, we're trying to do something for you. But already there's questions being raised about them. Wherein, when you were reading at the front page of the Examiner there, people have questions about how we're going to help people who are on pay-as-you-go. The government can't tell when those meters are about to run down, and issues emerging with travellers. Traveller advocacy groups have said that sometimes those people share meters. So when there's been credits before, like they've had as little as €22.
22 euros
to a
family's
family.
getting rather than getting the 200, the
exactly.
€200.
So you may as well have nothing, basically. And that also applies to, it came up in the Dáil during the week, pensioners who might live full-time in mobile homes. So we're literally trying to figure this out as we go along. Like, the government is literally trying to figure out day by day how they're going to make sure their number one concern is that people won't be cut off this winter.
Is the money going to go into your account, or is it going to go directly to the energy provider?
As far as I understand, I think it will go directly to your account, but that's like where the logistical nightmare is emerging.
Because if the money goes in directly to the energy provider, you don't know, you kind of wonder, has the money gone in? That price has still gone up quite a bit.
About standing charges and standing fees.
Well,
They don't have to go to the
It just-
regulator in order to increase those, which when a taxi company has to go to the regulator to increase their fees by €1, you'd think you'd have to go to the energy regulator to increase your standing charges.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing as well. I think that as if the bills coming through our door weren't bad enough, I think that the trust that the public have in energy companies is kind of hitting an all-time low, particularly when you see reports coming out of what sound like astronomical profits to the rest of us. I think that this is going to be a huge problem.
Let's look at that yesterday in the Oireachtas committee, and I know it was the ESB, who are state-owned, who were up there, and there's an awful lot of energy providers. Obviously, they're a generator as well. But their record €360 million after-tax profits, they put just €300 million into a hardship fund for people. And these are people who would also be on prepaid meters. Just €3 million to help people out.
Is this from the power generation wing?
So
that they've said that the profits that they've made from that shouldn't be.
They can't because of competition.
Should be separated.
They can't because of competition law and EU law. They can't share them between the generator and the provider ring. But the fact is, they made a profit on the provider side and they're not giving anything to people who are in hardship.
Exactly,
on the other side.
exactly. And already, I mean, the government are saying things like, we're going to protect vulnerable people, we're going to make sure that vulnerable people aren't cut off. But the government's definition of a vulnerable person and the energy companies seems to be dramatically different. And I think that that's going to be a big problem as well.
So true, isn't it? Like, what the difference...
It must be so frustrating. Can you imagine? When you're seeing the profits that are coming in, but then they're going, well, no, that's that part of the company. That's not, and then we can't do it. It's regulations.
But if you're looking on Twitter, there's one thing that I'm just seeing every single, like the last few days, I've just seen business. I'm really sorry, but we've had to close down.
Yes.
You know, Butcher and Thurles had to close down. I saw a restaurant.
A lot of restaurants
closing down. Like, you just see, I'm really sorry. We've loved. But we can't afford these energy costs.
We see it everywhere.
Like, it's heartbreaking. We'd love to hear from you. It looks like it's going to be even like prepaid customers, and there's so many in the state, hundreds of thousands. We'd love to hear from you this morning. 0896 111 111 in relation to that. We're going to talk about rugby players now.
Rugby
Tommy,
players, yeah. Obviously, this is a Professor Willie Stewart, honorary professor at the University of Glasgow. So he's pretty much done a study, which is quite worrying for professional rugby players or rugby players in general, or sports people in general.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about higher risk in dementia, motor neuron disease and Parkinson's. Yeah, where does this lead and what do you reckon is going to come out of it?
I mean, yeah, this is really, really stark. And while it is a Scottish study, it obviously has repercussions all over the world, particularly in Ireland, where we know that a lot of these cases are apparently in the pipeline. A case has already been taken against the IRFU by former players who had issues with concussion, and the legal firm that's representing them has made it clear that they're actually talking to a lot of people who played either for their province or their country and kind of want to bring something forward here. So basically what they did in Scotland, they took 400 former players, which is a lot, and they compared them with 1,200 members of the public, and they matched them up by their age, like their socioeconomic background, and they found that in the rugby players, the risk of developing dementia was twice as high. It was 15 times, the risk was 15 times higher for motor neuron disease, and for Parkinson's it was 3 times high. And we know that there actually has been a global reckoning for this, for these really intense high contact sports. It started a few years ago with the NFL in America, where people actually wear helmets and like full kind of body armour. They're still trying to deal with that. As recently as last week, you'd have cases where players who seemed to be really badly injured were still allowed to continue to play, and they've been dealing with that for a lot longer than we've been trying to deal with it over here. So I think it's been made very clear that because, you know, people are putting the research into it now, I suppose the concern people have is we might not understand until, basically retrospectively, until it's far too late, the impact that this can have on people.
But it's those CTE scans, which you won't know until you're dead. And then they scan your brain to see what sort of level of damage has been done to your brain. Which, we say it was in the film with Will Smith. And concussion.
And Aaron Hernandez's brain, who went out and murdered people after he was dead.
He murdered them after he was dead. No.
Sorry, after he was dead, they scanned his brain and it was severely impacted and traumatised. I'm just wondering, for parents, like you're a parent, and for kids, and it's contact sports. I know it's not just rugby; they are focusing in on it at the minute.
Well, listen, rugby has taken big steps in this because it is a big problem from former players. But I think this is going to be a big issue in all sports.
Like heading the ball, like everything like that. It must have an impact.
Big concussions. This is the big thing with it. It's actually the micro concussions. So it's any time you see stars, if you head a ball, small things like that, if you get a small dunt in a Gaelic football match, obviously the big concussions are the ones that you see people laid out. That is very frightening. It's actually the amount of mini concussions people get. And from a parent's point of view, from a kid's point of view, is it something you worry about? We'd love to know.
Would you try to stop your kid playing 0896 111 111? Because it is, like, it's scary. Like,
it is scary. Like, the benefits I think that you get from sport is, insurmountable.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, when you say that double the chances of you getting dementia is very, very frightening.
Yeah, you're not getting that when you're rowing. Do you know what I mean? Can we move on to something very quickly? This is something I'm delighted about this.
Great news.
You're never going to lose it. Oh, I didn't bring my charger. Oh, what do you have, a Samsung? I can't use that. What's going on? Common charging cables.
Yes, finally. So we can thank the EU for this. They're going to try to bring in universal chargers. So they're called USB-C chargers. chargers.
Yes.
So if you have an Android, that's the charger that it's going to try to be. Now, Apple are fighting this tooth and Did you hope it was going to be
an iPhone?
everyone would just switch to your system?
So what am I going to do? Do I have to get new laptops and new chargers and new
Apple
everything?
are fighting it tooth and nail, and they're saying that it would stop innovation, even though I think batteries have been charging largely the same way since day dot. But the most interesting thing for us is what's going to happen in Northern Ireland, because obviously this is an EU directive.
Yes.
The England, Scotland and Wales think that they'll be able to stay out of it. They think that under the Brexit deal, the North will have to come with us to this new universal utopia.
It's going to have to be a worldwide thing if it's going to work, because if you're going to get Apple to change...
Well, maybe it would be like plugs, how you'd have European plugs and then like American plugs. And you can
but it is
so
just
France
meant, but it is just
Ireland
meant to be
the
charge.
plug.
And I'm just saying, you don't have, like, if you've got a charger that works, you've got a charger that works. You don't have to buy a new one straight away. It's just when you buy a new phone.
Oh, it'll be phased.
It's phased in.
And laptops will be phased after that.
But if it's Brexit gotten involved in this?
But if it's only an EU thing, it won't work. Because it has to be America, it has to be the world. Anyway, let us know what you think. It's a bit of good news, hopefully, because it wrecks my head not having the right charger and losing whatever else. Ellen Coyne, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks a million, Adam. Cheers.
Now, Alan, what else have we got to look forward to this morning?
Well, Tommy, coming up after the break, from scams to road safety, journalist Geraldine Herbert is here, and we're going to be having a look at this little baby. So stay tuned for that. Staying with us now, from new models to new safety systems, we're checking out what's on the market when it comes to cars.
I think we should mention to people that it is raining. We're actually covered, so we're okay. It's all good.
Just about.
Now, here with the car that we all want to know about, of course, is motoring editor Geraldine Herbert. Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Geraldine. You've brought with a new car today. We've got the Renault Megane E-Tech.
Yes, so it's all electric.
All electric. How does it rate in kind of other electric cars in terms of price and whatever spec?
OK, so what you've got here is there's two versions of it, an EV40 and an EV60, and that refers to the size of the battery. So you can get a 300-kilometre range or a 450. Prices are $37,495 for the smaller battery and $41,995 for the bigger one.
Right.
Now, in terms of this market, there is no direct competitor as such, because if you think about a Megane, the rivals are normally the Focus, the Opel Astra, and the Peugeot 308. So there is a 308 plug-in hybrid, but no direct electric. All electric won't come till next year. The same with the Astra, the same with the Focus. So at the moment, it's kind of on its own.
So Renault are kind of getting to the game early.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, now, if you look at it closely, it's not a hatchback as such. It's slightly higher up, but I think it's far closer to a hatchback than it is an SUV. So it's an interesting kind of addition to the market, because we don't have a whole lot of those.
I definitely think it's small. It's bigger than the old Meganes, I would have thought. Would that be right?
Haven't compared the dimensions. It'd be interesting to see, but it certainly looks more substantial.
I was trying to look out the window. The windows are quite small, but it's a nice car.
It's very smartly designed.
Car.
Yeah. I got loads of admiring looks in it, I have to say, more than I was expecting. Lots of people like it.
It is a keyless, it's a fob.
Yes.
And we've been hearing that there's a lot of thefts with these fobs. How are people doing it?
OK, so this is your key, right? So your key talks to your car. That's essentially how it works. So as I get closer to the car knows this is the key for that car, and it opens. What keyless car theft is about is the theft is done by bouncing this signal into over a much greater distance. So they're able to fool the car into thinking that the key is near by using what's like an amplifier. So one of the thieves will stand outside your front door knowing the key is in there somewhere. One will stand beside the car, and they can bounce that signal over a much greater range. So that's the thing. So normally it only works in a very short distance. They make it extend it over a much longer distance.
And what can you do to stop that?
OK, so what you need to do, the best thing to do is buy what's known as a Faraday pouch. You can buy these in any motor accessory shops for as little as about €5. And it's a pouch that has lots of metallic layers, so it blocks that signal.
Right.
Now, having said that, if you have a metal container at home, that could easily work as well. So the best thing you can do is put the key into the metal container and walk towards your car. And if your car isn't picking up the signal, then the signal's blocked. Simple as that. You know it's working. So that's an ideal thing just to do at home. And as I said, if you don't have something like that, just go to your local motor accessories, €5, and you can put, you'll have peace of mind.
It does make your key a bit bigger, though, obviously.
No, not necessarily. This is the Renault. Oh, the pouch.
Would you just have it at home? You don't need to put in your key in your pocket, I suppose.
No, just at home.
And it is Irish Road Safety Week this week.
Yes.
So with new cars like this, like what sort of, because it's all mod cons in there, like what sort of features would you get, on even the basic models that help for people in their safety on the roads?
OK, two things that came in just this year and are mandatory on all new models. Is the first one are speed limiters. So this is a brand new thing, only came in July. Now it'll be on all new cars in 2024. Essentially what this does is it alerts you at all time if you're breaking the speed limit. And
So it won't slow the car down.
It depends. It can slow the car down.
Some of them will slow the car down.
Some of them will actually cut the power to your engine, so you have to make a conscious effort to exceed the speed limit.
Which ones do that?
They're the
now?
most effective. Depends on the
Look,
car.
Tommy won't be buying any of them.
Others just give you a warning, but this is a really good thing because a lot of
my
people...
car will go red if I'm over a limit. It goes red and it tells me. Yours must be the same.
Yeah, it does.
So at least you know and you can slow down.
Of course.
And remember, a lot of people go from a 60-kilometre zone into a 50 and they're unaware that they've changed.
Yeah.
So it's really useful for that. The other thing that this car has and all of the new cars have is what's known as automatic emergency braking. What this will do is if you come to some sort of an impending collision and you're not aware of it, say you have kids in the back and they're distracting you, you turn around and tell them to be quiet or whatever, and you miss the fact that the car in front has actually stopped.
Yeah.
So now the gap between you and that car in front is closing all the time. You don't react. The car will warn you. If you're still being distracted, the car will step in and stop the car automatically without any intervention.
So like mine will beat me if it's coming up, but this will the new systems will stop the car.
They'll stop it completely. And
That's
it does
amazing.
work. I have tried it. And it's, it's very odd to see it stepping in. If you take your foot off the accelerator, everything
So have you gone
tried
the
it by
bar
accident.
type thing and it'll stop it?
I tried it by accident.
It will never crash.
Yeah.
So it means you will never crash.
No, and it works at speeds up to 80 kilometres on some cars, some 50 kilometres, but it operates now on all new cars, and it's probably the biggest breakthrough in safety since the seatbelt.
Wow. So does that mean, like, if you're in a car park or something like that, you will never hit into something?
Well, the thing is, you have to be travelling, I think it's over 5 kilometres, so you probably wouldn't. But there are other systems that do that. They will brake your car as well in a car park if you're going towards another car. So all of those systems are just becoming more and more advanced, but that one is on all new cars, and it really is a big breakthrough.
What about lane assist? Is that something that's coming into more cars? Because it kind of annoys me that when you go, you're trying to go into another lane and it's kind of
beeping at you and everything,
moves
but the
itself.
only reason it's doing that is you haven't put on the indicator. If you put on the indicator, you're telling the car, I'm making a conscious decision to move into the next lane. But what that system detects is if you move and you haven't indicated, then it assumes you're straying. So if you think about it, if you were to fall asleep behind the wheel, you know these micro seats that people have, you would drift into the other lane. That's what these are really designed for. These systems, they will jolt you and go, hang on, wake up, you're supposed to be in your lane. So if you want to not have that, you just indicate, and then the car knows you're actually making a conscious decision.
Be a good driver.
Be a good driver, yes.
Finally,
and cruise control as well.
Yeah, cruise control has been on cars for decades. The latest development in that is adaptive cruise control. So if you're driving along and you've set your cruise control at 100 kilometres an hour, normally if a car cuts in front of you, then you have to intervene and slow the car down. With adaptive cruise control, it automatically gives you a distance, the adequate distance between you and the car in front. So if a car cuts in, it'll slow your car down. When the car has gone out of your view, it'll then go back to the speed. So it really is a game changer.
The technology, how it is. And cars like this, because I just have to finish with the Megane here. Like in terms of for a family, like who would you kind of aim this car at?
This is definitely a family car, and at 37,000 with a range of 300, that's your smaller battery. I think that's, most people do anywhere between 300, I think, and 320 a week. Perfect family car. So really, it's good to see those electric options.
I took an electric car out for a couple of days there. They're fun to drive.
Yeah, they're great.
They actually, listen, the whole range thing is a bit annoying, but because
I'm fun in what way, though, you get past that.
I feel you have to be very well organised, but actually in driving an electric car, there's something really nice to drive about it.
You get that instant power as well.
Yeah.
I think this looks very, very sleek.
Suits you, Al, I think.
Yeah, suits you. Geraldine, thank you very much. Thank you coming in. So, Muireann, what's coming up in the next hour of the show?
What Tommy didn't tell you is that he almost broke down on the motorway in his electric car because he didn't charge it enough. Anyway, still to come this morning, we meet the presenter turned paranormal expert, plus also the comedian who gave Tommy a complete roasting recently, and it was well deserved. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland AM.
Great to have you back with us. Now let's take a look at this morning's paper, starting with the Irish Independent. It leads with tax shock for 150,000 drivers as mileage levy is set to soar. thousands of workers with company cars are to be hit with a massive hike in tax.
The Examiner's front page, prepaid energy users at risk of being cut off. Home and business owners face further sustained increases in their energy costs because of extreme increases in wholesale energy prices. They've been warned.
Just 27% trust Sinn Féin to tackle crisis in cost of living is the top story on the Daily Mail. Just 27% of the public believe Sinn Féin can tackle the cost of living crisis, compared to 37% for the coalition government.
The Mirror goes with Wagatha feud reignites. The Wagatha Christie row kicked off again last night after Rebecca Vardy was hit with a bill of €1.7 million for Colleen Rooney's legal costs.
And the Sun leads with "You're having a laugh." Gangster John Gilligan was all smiles last night after his Spanish drugs and weapons trial was suspended following a no-show by his son Darren.
The Star's front page, time for a Zimo frame. John dishevelled John Gilligan has been told he will get 3 years jail for illegally exporting sleeping pills.
Just going to that paper, the headline in the Irish Examiner, prepaid energy users at risk of being cut off.
Yes.
And reading some of the text about it, Al,
yeah, I know.
It's quite scary.
And like, I haven't had my heat on till last night. I put €100 on my card meter thinking it would last me a couple of months. The pay-as-you-go meter immediately took half of that money off, as they said, in debt. How can I afford these tariffs?
Straight away because it had been
Straight
counting
away
and
because
ready
it's been
to go.
counting in. So thought the €100 would get her through.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a message here. Please talk about something positive. I own a gift shop and all this bad news has stopped people buying anything. I will have to close soon. Listen, we do. Honestly, we do the news and we try to talk about many positive things. But when it's the news, we have to talk about the news.
But isn't that very sad?
It's very
small little businesses like that across the country who are seeing no footfall at all, nobody coming in because everybody wants to try and save that few bob, maybe till Christmas, maybe just to sort of see how they're going to get over the next few weeks.
Well, exactly. I spoke to shops about this, and it's something that it's the public psyche now. People are not; they're so worried and anxious what's to come.
Yeah,
like we're just seeing a mess there.
Because we were burned, we were burned in 2008 all the way to we've just had a recession, so everyone's like, I need to save some money.
Well, everything is just we don't know how bad it's going to get. Like this is the whole thing. We don't know how bad it's going to get, and that's where you kind of see the cap that Sinn Féin were talking about, that at least you would know what level you're going to have to pay. But at the minute, for people, they're going to be getting those energy credits. But realistically, will that be enough? Like, how much energy are we going to need? And
the cap you'd just be paying in tax then,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Just see Amanda here. I'm a single mother living on a disability allowance and my gas and electricity is prepaid, and I've noticed no matter how much money I put into it, it's going down really fast. I don't know what I'm going to do and what's going to come.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, keep those texts coming in, 0896 111 111. And, you know, I do feel for that person who did say about trying to do something positive.
Completely do.
Because it is in people's psyche now. They don't want to spend because they're scared. And that's
we understand
not
that it must be very hard, but hopefully the tourists are still around sometimes, aren't they? There's lots more Ireland AM coming up after this break.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a month that is not just, it doesn't just remind people to check themselves, but also raises vital funds to support people with cancer.
We're joined now by Rachel Morrogh from the Irish Cancer Society and Sharon Greaves, who used the services after her cancer diagnosis. Thank you both so much for being here this morning. Sharon, we're going to start with you because you're looking fantastic, but in August 2020, middle of lockdown, your life changed.
Yes, I had been with my doctor for my annual checks, bloods, cholesterol and all of that. And she said I didn't have a mammogram at that stage. She'd none on record for me. And I told her that I had registered with Breast Check in 2019, but I hadn't been called. So she told me Breast Check was suspended because of COVID. But if I could source one privately, it would have my checks up to date, you know. So I went ahead and arranged that appointment. I had the Tuesday after the bank holiday in August 2020, and I had the mammogram that morning, and that was when they discovered a tumour. So I then was sent for ultrasounds and biopsies and bloods and an MRI, and that was when a second tumour was discovered. So I went from being totally healthy, no symptoms, no signs, no nothing. It was just a tick box, and by the middle of August then I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your doctor wasn't on record?
No.
Why don't you just, like, no symptoms? That's
Nothing.
amazing as well.
Nothing. I was the opposite of symptomatic.
I mean, isn't that incredible? And
Yeah.
so you just went for the scan thinking that, you know,
Yeah.
get in here, get out of
Yeah.
there, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden it shows up not one but two.
Two tumours.
Tumours.
Yeah.
Like, does it frustrate you a little bit that, you know, that breast check was cancelled over COVID?
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, you're lucky that you got sent for a mammogram, but think of the
That you
amount of
sourced it
people
yourself.
who,
Sourced myself.
whose doctor didn't tell them to go get that.
I know. And the ironic thing was I was called for breast check in February this year, 16 months after what I had life-saving surgery.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it when the letter came in. You know, I actually, just for a second, saw deceased written across it. You know, I thought that's what was going to have to go back to breast check to say, you know.
And we do know that with services that were cancelled over COVID, that there is a fallout now from, you know, people being delayed with diagnosis. But you did go off and do this yourself.
Yes.
Thank God
Thank
that you
God.
went off and did this yourself. And we think about the people who didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But then from diagnosis to
Yes.
surgery to what's you know, it did save your life because what were the next steps for you in October? You had your first surgery.
So in October I had the first surgery, which was a full mastectomy and a reconstruction on the same day. So it was about 8-9 hour surgery. Then I had subsequent surgeries after that. Over the course of about 8 months, I started treatment. I had a very bad reaction to the treatment, which they thought maybe there was something else going on, and I had to start the scans and the tests again. Thankfully there wasn't, but I did have to have more surgery after that. So my final, what I hope ever in my whole life, surgery was last December, and went back on treatment then. So
God willing.
Fingers crossed,
Fingers
absolutely.
crossed.
And you're getting scans, you know, every 6 months.
Yeah.
I have to ask you though, because you said you were the opposite of having symptoms.
Yes. Yes.
Fit, healthy,
Yes.
enjoying life.
Mm-hmm.
When you're at top of the world and you get that diagnosis,
Yes.
what is that like?
Devastating. Just devastating. Completely shocking, you know. And when I got the diagnosis, I was on my own. Because it was COVID, you couldn't have anybody with you at the appointments, so I couldn't have... My husband wasn't with me. And they told... The consultant said, it is cancer. And he went on and on about the different, you know, aspects and what the plan was. I didn't hear any of that.
Of course.
I just heard cancer, cancer, cancer.
Yeah.
And when you hear cancer, you think, wow, this is it. And, you know, I was only married 2 years, and I was thinking, is this as long as I get to live? And what's coming down the road? And it was just such a shock, and just trying to take it all in and process it was just... It was like almost like an out-of-body experience, you know. I think this can't be happening, you know.
And it's family, it's friends, it's not even just you.
Who face it with you, And I decided, and my amazing husband went along with me, not to tell my family and friends for a few weeks. I needed to take it in.
Okay.
And I needed to be able to say to my family, particularly my parents, telling my mother, you know, I have cancer, but this is the plan, rather than drop the bomb, you know, and for it all to explode. So we waited a couple of weeks till I had a bit more information.
Yeah.
And then we told everybody, because I knew, and I know from my experience now, everybody faces it with you. You know, it's not just me. Everybody's upset and devastated, and it's very, very tough.
Yeah,
it's really
a
tough.
family diagnosis.
It's a family
It happens to
diagnosis.
the person,
Yeah, it's a
everyone's
family
there.
diagnosis, absolutely.
Rachel, like, we're just here, like, Sharon, you just look fabulous, and the way you're willing to talk to us about this. But the Irish Cancer Society must be hearing from an awful lot of people at the minute who didn't do what Sharon did, who went off and organised her own private mammogram, which had to happen during COVID. Like, there's a huge fallout from this.
Yeah, there is, Muireann, and I think that the way Sharon has spoken about the psychological impact as well, I suppose it wasn't just the fact that some services were curtailed and cancer services were as impacted as other health services during COVID and are still very much recovering. But the psychological impact of hearing that you have cancer when you're on your own, like that's going to have a profound psychological impact on not just Sharon and her family, but on people right across this island. And it is devastating and it's traumatic. And it's why I suppose services like we provide free counselling in the Irish Cancer Society, and they're needed more than ever before. And we're seeing an increased demand on our services, as well as the fact that more people, sadly, in Ireland are getting cancer, and the breast cancer rate is increasing. And, you know, there are pressure on our services. We need the support of the Irish public. The Cancer Society, I don't think many people know this, but we only receive 3% government funding. So we really need people to support us on days like today during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so that we can continue to meet the needs of Sharon and the 45,000 other people in Ireland who are going to get cancer this year.
45,000 people in Ireland.
Yeah.
Just this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mind-boggling number. And from the Irish Cancer Society, I mean, you mentioned counselling. What other services are most needed that you see from people who get this shock diagnosis?
Yeah, I think one of the services that Sharon used was our peer support service. So that means that when you're diagnosed with cancer, you're able to talk to someone who's shared a similar experience as you. And like Sharon said, sometimes people don't feel comfortable telling their friends and family immediately. And it might be easier sometimes to talk to, you know, an anonymous person. And that's why the peer support service is really important, but also talking to our cancer nurses. So we have a support line completely free. People can call at any time, and our counselling service as well. Like I said, there's a big demand for that. And you might be aware of our night nursing, which is, you know, users of the service describe them as angels, and they're nurses who go into people's homes in the last days of their life, and they provide that special care at night time, so the family can get a little bit of rest during those very, very precious days, and allowing somebody to die at home who otherwise mightn't be able to do so.
They really are angels, aren't they, Sharon?
Oh, listen, they're just unbelievable. And the volunteers, the people who give their time, you know, the service is unbelievable. And I couldn't, when I heard the figure that 3% was only government funded, that it is really, really provided by the generosity of donors and people who give. And you know, when I was on I mean, I would have given for the pink ribbon and the daffodil day, but when I was on the receiving end of the service, you know, I'm humbled now as I was then that these wonderful people give of their time, you know, people give generously, and what they create with that giving is just an amazing service for people like me on their cancer journey, you know, to help and support them and advise them. And I don't know what I would have done without them, to be honest, you know, they're just so good.
Because it's that time, because your life explodes.
Yes.
And being able to talk to someone who's gone through that, because, you know, as Tommy mentioned earlier on, I can't imagine the anger that was within you because Breast Check hadn't happened. I know we're lucky to have that service in the first place.
Yes.
But all of those emotions and not having the support in the hospital.
Yes.
Were you able to compute it?
Well, that was the one thing about as Rachel said, about the nurse line and the peer support. They almost normalise, you know, a really tough situation. And when I linked in with them and I was able to talk to the nurse and the peer support, it was providing such an incredible holding of me up, you know, and I could have the honest conversations like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is breast checks? If I had been screened last year, I would not have faced into the absolute nightmare that 16 months became, you know. But it was all good. They let me talk about that, and then we got down to the practical nitty-gritty and organising everything.
And it's something we talk about on this show a lot as well, the pressure that GPs and doctors are under, but for somebody, a doctor like you, to just say, listen, might be something worth considering. And not everybody can go private, but we're just seeing there that for that small chance, if you can, it is well worth it. Listen, Sharon Greaves, thank you so much for coming. You look fantastic, and you know, you spoke so eloquently there as well. And of course, Rachel Morrogh from Irish Cancer Society. Brilliant to have us with. Now, Catherine Leyden, the queen of baking, is back in the kitchen, and she's got something good because I've polished how many of them off already.
Just to take you on.
Oh, yeah, there, show that. That was full earlier on.
This was full when I came in.
Yes, and now I think I've had 6. I've had 4.
You should know better than to bring them in so early.
I shouldn't bring them in so early, exactly. Anyway.
So you are making muffins, blueberry muffins.
Simple blueberry muffins. And now the texture of a muffin is different to a cupcake or a bun. So you should never beat the ingredients together. And I'll come on to that in a moment. So here I have 275 grams, that's 10 ounces of cream plain flour. To that we're going to add just a pinch of salt, and we're going to add 2 teaspoonfuls of baking powder. So teaspoonful, the same amount above the rim as beneath it.
What does baking powder do?
It's a raising agent.
Raising agent.
Okay.
Baking powder and bread soda raising agents, which you use different liquids to activate them. Usually buttermilk or sour milk for bread soda, and sweet milk or fresh milk for baking powder.
There you go.
Now, we sieve this in.
And what's self-raising flour then?
That's flour that has baking powder in it already.
In it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
seems so simple.
Here we have 125 grams, that's 4 ounces of caster sugar. And if you have a fine sieve, as I have there, the caster sugar won't go through very easy. Okay. So it's best to just toss it in after you've sieved in the flour. Now, the next stage, it's really, really simple. The next stage is you take half a pint of milk, 300 mils, half a pint of milk. To that, I'm going to add 2 eggs, lightly beaten. Now, if you haven't got the eggs beaten, don't worry, because we're going to beat them anyway in the milk. And to that, we add 75 grams or 3 tablespoons of melted butter or oil.
Oh, we were talking about oil yesterday, and there's some recipes, like I remember Edward was saying in the scones, you wouldn't use oil in the scones.
Because they don't mush up, do they? But
different texture altogether.
But it's fine in the likes of a muffin.
Oh, muffin. Generally, it is oil, not melted butter or margarine is used. Okay? Right. Now, we just combine these ingredients together.
And why is oil okay for a muffin then? Is it just because it's nice and soft inside?
Yeah, the texture is different, completely different. Now, you just beat that until it's frothy, as we have there. We just put it over that now so we don't dribble. And we just add all that to the dry ingredients. Now, here's the difference with a muffin and a bun or a cupcake. With the bun or a cupcake, you could beat or stir that through. With a muffin, you just take a fork and just gently stir until all the ingredients are combined. That's very important, just gently.
And you've put all the milk in there, because normally you would say don't put it all in just in case. No. But you know exactly this is needed.
Exactly half a pint, for that quantity of ingredients. And just stir until there's no flour visible.
Does the fork keep the air bubbles kind of in it?
It does, yeah. And it just gently
cuts
Mr.
through. Knowledge.
He's learning.
It's only because I've eaten so many of them. There's loads of big air bubbles.
You actually did say that a minute ago. He says there's lovely air bubbles in that.
Now, here we're going to add about 4 ounces or 6, it depends really on yourself, of blueberries, OK?
I love the blueberries.
So do I, love them.
Everyone says that blueberries are like a superfood.
Yeah,
really good for you. Exactly.
Really good for you. So
now we just mix that through. And there we have what we call a batter-like mixture.
And is that it? Is it done?
That's it. Ready for action?
Do you know what? These little mini ones.
The mini ones,
they're
problem. Dangerous, though.
Yeah,
You're eating too... Like, we've eaten about 4 or 5 of them, and we shouldn't have.
I think for school lunches, these big ones are some of the ones you buy, the big, the ginormous ones.
They're nearly too big.
They're too big.
Yeah.
And with portion control and for children's lunches, if you do... It's worth investing in a mini tin like that. Now, you can get mini muffin cases, but I just wasn't able to locate them.
I agree. I think these little ones for my kids
great.
Far better, far healthier as well for them.
Just 2 in them, perfect for the day.
Now, generally what I do when I'm making them in the small tin, I actually don't put the blueberries into the mixture. I pour the mixture into the individual cases or lightly grease the tin and then pop blueberry or two into the mixture before it goes into the oven.
All right, so you're getting a full blueberry in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In each one,
In
each
each
one of the
small
little
ones, yeah.
Because on these, because the blueberry cooks inside, though, doesn't it? It kind of melts or bursts.
It actually bursts.
Now,
Yep.
how many will you get out of this? You're doing 6 here, but you've lots
get about
more.
12.
Oh, you
get
get
about
12.
yeah. Or you get 3 dozen of the mini ones. And we just...
Oh, are you going to get a warm one?
Do you want a big? Oh,
No,
yeah,
I'll
wait till the warm.
I'll have a little one, though.
Oh,
The
right.
little ones are good.
Oh, he's watching.
I'll finish these off.
Okay.
I'm waiting on
so
a warm one to come out of the oven.
Just done 6 of them. Now, I just...
So you'll get 12.
You get 12.
Oh, what are you putting on there?
Just a little bit of brown sugar.
Look at the air bubble in that.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's the real airy
And I think they're
light.
lovely for lunches for children. Lovely. Now, preheat your oven, 400 Fahrenheit, 200 centigrade, gas mark 6. Okay? When the oven's at temperature, and I've just got 6 I put into the...
Oh, you can tell there's something tasty in the kitchen.
I thought you were on a diet.
I know. Everyone's like, that one skirt. The skirt fit me last week. It doesn't fit me this week.
Now.
Yeah, hold on a second.
We want a warm one.
No, because I want to ask Catherine.
Yes.
Catherine, you watch Bake Off.
I do.
And I watch Bake Off, and we're
I
obsessed
love
with
it. I won't miss it for anything.
What did you think last night when they started doing like
Drove me
tacos?
insane.
So tacos, and they did pizza the week before. Right, are we meant to be watching a cooking show or a baking show?
I couldn't agree more with you. Baking.
I want to ask the queen of baking.
Them. Is it not challenging more?
But
Because
it's called
they
the
think...
Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, but a base of a taco is not baking.
But we have the queen of baking in the kitchen, and sometimes you do. Like you did pizzas first before as well.
Can we taste?
Mix it up.
Can we taste them?
But you would like them to go back to pure baking, Catherine, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I just wanted to check.
Tommy, did you give Tommy a small one?
Tommy has... let's see.
I'll have the little one here.
Oh, look at this.
Not want a hot
one?
Yeah, no, maybe I'll have a hot one as
Have a
well.
hot one.
Have a hot
one.
There you go.
Now,
Let's do this on Bake Off.
Catherine,
Make some muffins
when you
for me.
take them from out of the oven, like this
Catherine
one here.
Leyden, you're an absolute star.
Thank you so
These
much.
are gorgeous.
They're
and that's gonna be
Now,
even better.
joy and really simple to make.
Thank you
They
very
really
much.
are. Now, and after the
Baking.
break, we get a machinery masterclass from Deric that you don't want to miss. Here we go.
But you know what? It's the favourite part of my show. Well, actually, the cookery is probably the favourite part of my show. But this part I always enjoy as well. We're going back over to Deric now, who is in Johnstown in Wexford as he embraces his country roots.
He's all about the tractors today, but he didn't know about Macrona Firma. Deric, give us the lowdown.
I do know about Macrona Firma, absolutely. I have my green card. Anyway, welcome down here to Johnstown in County Wexford. We're getting a machinery masterclass here this morning at the Irish Agriculture Museum in Johnstown, here in County Wexford. Man, I'm loving the setup here.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? This is the largest museum of its type in the country. We have everything from farm machinery, as you'd expect, but we also have country furniture exhibition. We have bicycles. We have a great famine exhibition. So we have 20 exhibitions staged over 2 floors of the historic courtyard buildings here at Johnstown Castle.
Now, some of the machinery dates back over 200 years, doesn't it?
Yeah, some of our earliest items would be ploughs, and they'd be 200 years old. But typically, most of the items would date back to the 19th century, early 20th century, up to and including the introduction and widespread popularity of the tractor.
Now, let's talk about the tractor here beside us, because the Ferguson's a very popular tractor, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Harry Ferguson was born and brought up in Northern Ireland, and that's why we have this collection of Ferguson tractors. And we have the iconic grey Ferguson tractor, which was brought out in the 1950s.
And what I love about this tractor, it was used back in 1958 by Sir Edmund Hillary for his trans-Antarctic exhibition, yeah.
Yeah, well, that just shows you it could be used in extremes, hot or cold. It didn't really matter. These things were built to run all day, and that's why they were so popular. You could put anything on the back of them, all these different attachments. It was kind of part tractor, part Swiss Army knife.
And we have one at home as well on our farm, so very, very popular right around the country as well.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a farming family as well, and we had these tractors as well. My dad used one, and my mum was a teacher, and if it snowed in the winter, he would give her a lift in the old tractor, so there's no excuse not to go to work.
Absolutely right. Well, we're going to walk and talk here because we're going to pop now into the Harvesting Machinery Hall, and we're joined now by Chairman of the Irish Agriculture Museum, Peter Miller. Good morning to you, Peter. How are you?
Good morning, Deric.
Now, tell us what we've got here, Peter.
Here in front of us we have an Aveling Porter steamroller, a 10-ton roller, and she was supplied to Lord Warford's estate in Curramore in 1915, so that was during the First World War. And you can see it hasn't great wear, if I look here, not great wear on the rollers, because it only actually was used on the estate for rolling the roads on the estate and also for thrashing.
And that's 10 tonne. Now, what have we got here, this machine here, Peter?
In Wexford, we had 3 manufacturing companies originally. Pierce's Star Engineering Works, known often as the Wexford Engineering Company, as you can see on the end of the machine. A small machine for sowing corn, pulled by normally 2 horses. And it's a smaller version of it.
And a smaller version. Now, this one here, I'm loving this machine because this was used for turnips and beetroot, wasn't it?
Yes, well, in here, this is actually made in Scotland, in Maybole in Scotland. And you have the hunter hoe in the first part here for hoeing the drills before they sow the corn or sow the turnips. And then you had 2 rows at a time, pulled by a single pony or horse.
Pony or horse.
And you could sow 2 rows of turnips or beet or whatever.
Now, this machine, Peter, is in fantastic condition, and this was actually lit by paraffin, is that correct?
Yeah, this machine actually was on the Enniscorthy stand in the Dublin show in 1912. It's a Hornsby stationary engine, and normally used, you see, with the belts over here on the pulley for thrashing. And to start this, you would have lit a blow lamp, and under here, this unit here, you would have lit that for about 15 minutes to get this cherry hot.
Okay.
And it's paraffin.
So you just heat it up, is it?
Yeah, to cherry red hot.
Okay.
And you would then, it would fire on its own compression.
So it starts itself.
Yeah, well,
so
more
basically it's automatic.
You had to pull the flywheel to start it.
And you get any runoff then into
the paraffin runoff here, any excess paraffin from the pump, because the pump kept pumping all the time, and it put a spray of paraffin in here into the hot bulb. This is.
That's phenomenal, isn't it? And over here then we've got the barrel top caravan as well.
Yeah, this was actually made for us. We got a man in New Ross called Willie O'Connor, and he made this barrel top caravan, nice and cosy to sleep in.
That was why Willie O'Connor, was it?
Sorry?
Willie O'Connor.
Willie O'Connor, yes. Willie O'Connor in New Ross.
Okay.
He's a settled traveller in New Ross, and he actually made that for us.
And that was pulled then by a horse pony.
Pulled by a horse, or, yeah.
Okay, so there we have it, lads. I have to say, this place absolutely steeped in agricultural history. Come here, is there a duvet in that? Because we could hop in there and go for a wee nap. No, clearly not together. But the rain is coming down now. And it's early morning. We've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here this morning, Peter. You can check out more online at johnstowncastle.ie. But for now, back to you guys in the studio.
Your favourite, Deric.
No, but Deric, we've told you about propositioning people on the telly for dates. He's not allowed to do that, right? You're not allowed to use the telly to get yourself some dates.
He was trying to get you a date, wasn't he, before?
He's tried to do that many a time.
I'd actually, my son would love that.
He'd just love to go in and get on them.
Sitting up, I probably can't sit up in those actually because they're all there for...
But is that the sort of thing? I always remember the time that, you first go on a tractor and you're there with your dad and you're...
do you ever get a ride in a tractor?
Do you ever get a ride in a tractor?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we used to have an old Massey Ferguson 65 MK, it is. So it's like
a picture of it?
Well, I do, but I can't really show you here.
Yeah. There it is.
And they're great crack to drive around in.
I'd say.
All the old ones, amazing. So yeah, I think fair play, Deric.
It was the sort of thing that you were allowed driving when you were like 8 and 9 years old because you're only in the field doing the hay. And he was like, don't tell anyone.
I wondered, did they have this braking system that we saw in all the new electric cars as well? Imagine, don't think
tractor having that.
We actually have somebody saying in a text of a truck with that automatic braking, and the amount of times it's just jammed on the brakes in the middle of nowhere because of a pole or a sign on a corner.
So
very frustrating.
If it sees the side of it or something, picks up within and it just stops.
It thinks it's something, yeah, and it stops. Whiplash. Anyway, we'll have more of your texts coming up, and also presenter Yvette Fielding talks hosting TV's spookiest show, Most Haunted.
Plus, we have got some great fashion over on the catwalk.
And the winter fashion, that's what we need. And he certainly slagged me off in front of my former rugby players. We're going to be talking to the comedian Andrew Ryan. He's going to join us later on. Good morning, welcome back to the final hour of Ireland AM.
Now, from princesses to the paranormal, she's interviewed Diana, braved the I'm a Celeb jungle and gone ghost hunting with Boyzone. That is quite the CV. Presenter and author Yvette Fielding will be here shortly.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Now, critics...
You love it.
Well, my wife loves it. Anyway, yeah.
His wife.
Looking forward to the chat. Critics have hailed his witty storytelling and his cheeky digs. Comedian Andrew Ryan is going to be here shortly.
He's going to take Tommy to town. Alan, what's coming up on the catwalk?
Well, Muireann and Rob Condon is here with us to tell us why it's never too early to start planning your winter wardrobe, especially if you're invited to some nice winter events.
Exactly, if you've any winter events, from winter weddings, even a ladies' lunch that you might have coming up, we're going to talk you through the most stylish pieces from velvet looks, faux fur and berry tones. So all of your winter essentials. Gorgeous piece here that we're taking a sneak peek at. So it's all about those velvet trousers and velvet looks vibes, and this is sold as a two-piece.
Okay, looking forward to that. That's coming up a little later on. Now, rock me mama like a wagon wheel. Deric is well, I can't even. Oh, there he is. I was wondering what was coming up.
Oh.
Deric, what are you doing?
Come here. I'm always up to some dibblement. You know, this place looked too good. So, you know what? I'm going to kick off the shoes here now because the rain is coming down. In we go. Oh, I have to say, this is lovely and cozy, lads. They have a lovely little rug on the floor here. Lovely sheepskin rug. I'm going to lie down here. It's a day for the duvet. And cheap accommodation, too. Back to you guys in the studio.
You're very welcome back. Now, we've a number of text messages in about a few different things, but I think we should mention Rachel Morrogh, who's in, of course, from the Irish Cancer Society, and talking about 45,000 people are going to be diagnosed with cancer just this year alone.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's frightening, isn't it?
Frightening.
All different forms of cancer. Yeah.
And Sharon Greaves, who is here, of course, breast cancer survivor. Amazing, like she had no symptoms, and her GP just said, listen, you haven't got a mammogram on record, you should go get it. Of course, she had 2 tumours. Like,
it just
from privately.
With losing a sister and a brother to cancer myself, it terrifies me. The word
big time
terrifies me, and I know my doctor thinks I'm a hypochondriac because I would get tested for anything, but I'm so scared. I am really so scared because you do feel it's in the family and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's 1 in 2.
When you think you don't have symptoms, and particularly when breast check had been cancelled over COVID, you kind of think, oh, well, I feel fine, I'd be grand, put it off, and maybe missing appointments and stuff.
Yeah, but it's, you know, on shows like this, you always do things, like, you know, we do health things all the time. And Alison got in contact. And Alison, thank you for getting in contact. Ireland AM saved my life after watching a breast check section September last year. I checked myself that night. I found a lump. I went to the doctor, had all the tests, and I had cancer. 1 year later, and I am cancer-free, and I'm starting to get back to myself. Alison,
brilliant.
We are so delighted for you. We're so sorry it happened to you in the first place, but the fact that you went and got yourself checked. So right now it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and men, you got to check yourselves as well.
Yes.
We had a man on with breast cancer recently, so please do check yourselves.
I know, that's the thing.
It's really quick.
It's a thing
really
for
quick.
men as well. My wife is currently going through treatment for breast cancer, and everything is going really well. Luckily, she knew she was due a mammogram, so she just went and actually requested it. It might have been a different story if she went and waited, because this backlog, of course, is just going to take so long. So, yeah, if you have the ability to go out there and try and get yourself tested.
Or even just try and regularly get blood tests.
Yeah.
You know, your GP will do blood tests for you. If you do it every year even. Because the blood tests...
You're very good for your MOTs.
Yeah, I'm very good at my MOTs. I will go and get them done every 6 months or so.
Do you know what was amazing as well? The Irish Cancer Society. Like, they only get 3% funding for that.
The rest
so
is
that's
from us.
actually from people going out and donating. And the amount of work, like Sharon just said, like, they're angels, these people who give up their time, volunteers, incredible. So
and what they do, the work, like the Marie Keating Foundation, all of them just getting together and just, it's scandalous sometimes when you think that they have to.
But it is vital. The government can't do everything, so it is vital.
I know that they do it.
But listen, Alison, thank you for sending in that message as well.
We're so delighted
really
to hear
good
you're
news.
doing well.
Coming up, she's explored some of the world's most haunted locations and lived to tell the tale. Yvette Fielding is going to be in studio after the break. Now, our next guest has explored some of the world's spookiest paranormal locations on Most Haunted, of course. She's overcome the I'm a Celeb jungle and rubbed shoulders with no less than Kylie Minogue, Cilla Black, on Blue Peter.
The CV.
We might have to
the
talk for
CV
half
on this
an hour.
woman. Good morning, Yvette Fielding. It's lovely to have you here.
I am absolutely thrilled to be here. We're just talking, last time we spoke, it was on a computer screen on Zoom, but here I am with you guys.
And it's so nice because honestly, all morning, and just there a minute ago, you're like, what's your favourite most haunted place in Ireland? If you like, Lucy, your wife is really into this.
Well, yeah.
Into most haunted. She watched it all the time. Like, what is it that people get? They love it. Like they're really addicted fans to that show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a roller coaster ride, isn't it? You sort of get on. I mean, I hate roller coaster rides, and you get on and you're sort of like half, hanging in the air like they like to do, and you look down and you're thinking, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And then you do it, and then you come off and you're like, oh, that was great. And it's the same with ghost hunting and the paranormal. Your adrenaline is going through the roof. You're in a really scary place, like a prison, for example. You're on your own in a haunted cell, and then you go to open the door and you're locked in. That's happened to me. And then you start hearing scratching on the walls, and then the bed might suddenly shift or move on its own, and you're like, I'm so frightened, but you're getting it on camera. And then when help, and then they come and let you out, and then it's like, oh, wow. And then you look back at the footage and you just think, wow, look what we've caught. Look, we've caught some really good paranormal activity. So you want to go back and do it again.
I mean, because it's the 20th anniversary of Most Haunted, which is incredible. And my wife was addicted to it, loves it, wants to come back. I mean, in Ireland, have you a scariest, like for people in the lead up to Halloween? Where do they need to go if they want to see some activity?
Well, we went to a few places. We went to Charleville Forest Castle. Then we went to Lep Castle in, I think it's in Offaly. Yeah. And that, I remember the story of that. There was a family that lived in Lep Castle, and the father was doing odd jobs round the house, round the castle, and he was up his ladder and he got pushed off by something. I think he broke his leg. And they talk about this really malevolent, awful entity in poltergeist that's in Lep Castle. And I remember being really excited and going there, and it is a really creepy place. And I'd love to go back there because at the time, we were sort of fledgling ghost hunters. We didn't really we were finding our feet. But now I'd love to go back because I reckon we'd get some really great stuff there.
Because I suppose with the cameras, and people watch it for it. There are funny moments as well of stuff that happens when it comes to ghost hunting. Like you were showing me clips earlier on of, was it Deric and Cora talking about Mary loving something that we can't really say on the television. Like there's...
Oh, but that's the great thing about Most Haunted, because it's real, because our emotions are real. And that's what happens if you guys went out on a ghost hunt. 1 minute you'd be screaming and crying, and then the next minute you'd both be absolutely falling about laughing. I mean, there have been a couple of moments, I will admit to you, it's not very ladylike, but with the fear, you have to wear your big girly pants. And sometimes, and it's not a paranormal noise, will happen. Well, you're all falling about laughing because somebody said, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And you go, actually, it was me. I'm so scared. That's happened quite a few times.
I actually don't know.
A few ghostly pops here and there.
Listen,
I didn't expect that to be one.
To be fair, Muireann, I don't know how you would cope with it. I mean, you get scared. Not for the ghostly parps, but I mean, you get scared if anybody, like if you're in a pitch black.
They have a habit here of coming up behind me when there's 25 people in the room and going, ooh, Alan does it all the time, and
You're on the ceiling.
I freak out.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Like it's great fun to watch all of these things. Thanks for talking about my ghostly parps. But you've done ghost hunting with, kind of famous faces.
Yeah.
Boyzone did it.
They
Boyzone
did.
and Louis Watt.
Yes. And it was very funny because when they sort of first arrived, it was for ITV, and I picked them up in a London taxi. And they were really cocky, like, yeah, whatever, this is a load of rubbish, ghosts. It's a TV show. Who's going to be chucking stuff? Who's going to be moving the scenery? Who's going to be... No, it's actually real. Oh, what a load of rubbish. By the end of it, there were tears. I'm not kidding. And there's a brilliant shot of Louis Walsh. We're in Edinburgh, in the underground. There's loads of tunnels there. Yeah. And Louis Walsh, there's a wonderful shot of him actually jumping, clutching his pearls and trotting like a pony and screaming so loudly, going, that's enough now. And honestly, these big lads, and one funny story was, I think it was Keith, I can't remember, said to me, do you use anything for protection? And I said, this necklace here. I said, I do have, and it's a tiny little heart. And I said, I do have the ashes of my father in here. And he said, tiny man, was he? Which just made me fall about laughing. And so now I always say, I have some of my dad's ashes in this necklace. So they were really intrigued in everything, but very dubious. But by the end of the investigation, they were really on board, particularly Stephen. He was really, he was very much, I want to find out more, and when stuff was happening, he was absolutely bowled over by it, let's keep going. No, it's 4 a.m. now. We need to wrap. No, let's keep going, let's keep going. Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Listen, you've continued with the most haunted... Very good. Very good. Well done.
Are your big girl pants holding up?
How are those ghostly parps now?
Did you not scream too?
Oh, I did, yeah.
You did?
I think I need to go get changed.
You need to replay that in slow motion. With sound.
You knew that was coming.
I swear I didn't know. I even jumped.
What I was trying to say, you've got into children's books.
I have, yes.
And this is book number 2, The Ripper of Whitechapel. I mean, Jack the Ripper.
I know.
Fair play. For children.
Well, young adults, really. So it's the second in the series of the Ghost Hunter Chronicles. The first book was called The House in the Woods, where 3 13-year-olds decide that they're going to, come on, let's do a Ouija board. And they find this abandoned house in the middle of Epping Forest, and they suddenly discover the spirit world, and something follows them home. And so they begin this foray into ghost hunting, and hence the second book. They have to go and help some ghostly children who are being followed by none other than the ghost of Jack the Ripper. Yeah.
I love this. I mean, even like you look at the people who've talked about it in the back. Keith Lemon, when I grow up, I want to be a ghost hunter. After reading this book, I now feel fully qualified. Matt Lucas, I'm too scared to read this. Paul O'Grady, I mean, that is some list of names.
Yeah. It's fun to have it. Like, I remember reading point horror books when I was like, 10, 11, 12. It's good to, it's fun for kids to be scared.
It is. And before I started writing them, I thought, how scary should I make this? And so I was in a bookshop, and there was a mum with 2 13-year-old lads, 2 brothers. I said, can I talk to you? They were in the sort of horror section. And we sat down, and I said, I'm writing these books. I said, how scary would you like it to be? And one of them went, I want to shake under the duvet. I was like, OK.
I used to love
You want a ghostly parp?
A ghostly parp.
Goosebumps.
No
That was a book I used to read back then.
Without a ghostly parp.
Yvette Fielding, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I will never forget that moment.
And book number 2, The Ripper of Whitechapel. To be honest with you, I think... I'm not going to forget that moment anytime soon either.
Thank you for being involved.
I'm meant to be a rugby player. I'm not meant to be tough. I'm not meant to...
I've lost 45 years. Yeah, you're meant to be real tough. He did go like this. He did.
Oh, I did. Properly.
What are we going to do today, Yvette? It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Now, our very own ghostly parp over there on the catwalk.
Yvette, they'll be trying to get me back for that now for weeks.
Yes.
They will, without telling you. Now, up next, we have some great fashion. Rob Condon is giving your wardrobe a winter overhaul. We'll see in a couple of minutes.
Hello. Do you have a winter event coming up and wondering, what should I wear?
What will I wear? Well, Rob Condon is here to guide us in the right direction. Good morning to you,
Good
Rob.
morning. How are you?
We're very good. So loads of events. You're going out. It's Christmas time. We're good to go.
Exactly. Lots of events coming up. So whether it's a winter wedding, whether it's a ladies' lunch, or as you say, a Christmas event, we're going to take you through all of the stylish pieces to have. They're all available from Manor Mill Shopping Centre.
Do you have something? Do you have something for a revenge outfit to get back to a colleague? No, nothing I should be wearing for revenge.
Let's get Sarah on and
let's talk to Sarah, shall we?
With our first look on Sarah, this is a new store which is opened at Manor Mills. Lara, gorgeous piece here. I think with this piece, it would be perfect for a winter wedding, whether you're a wedding guest or even as an option for mother or the bride if you don't want to opt for a dress. I think it's the perfect alternative. With the earrings, they're $7.96. It's a really standout earring. They're a double disc gold earring, and we've mixed lots of golds and silvers with the jewellery here this morning with this. We've layered up the necklace, so with the short necklace, it's $11.96, so it's a gold rope necklace, but I think with that V neckline to this top, you definitely want to go layered.
Two necklaces there. You have a short one and a long one.
And then the long one, which is the mix of silver and gold there, which works really well with
look
the top.
At the kimono and the whole look at it.
This looks really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool look. It's available, the whole lot is available in 4 other colours, so it's available in navy, black and other various colours. I just love the swing of this. I think it's a piece that you can mix and match in your wardrobe. Wear it like this, wear it with a pair of jeans. You're going to be able to do so much with it, and it's really cool and oversized.
Like, and obviously they're all sold separately.
Yeah, they're all sold separately as pieces, but they do have it, all the pieces in different colours. The top is $39.95. It's a cami top, but a really stylish update to a cami top because it just makes it really dressy with that satin trim to it, which also matches back in the kimono and the trousers at the bottom.
They look really like comfortable.
Yeah, really comfortable pair of trousers. Wide leg to these at €55, and you can see the satin trim is matching back in with this. I think for any winter event, this is a standout outfit. And as I say, wear them as separates as well. With the shoes, they're €50, so we've kept it quite tone on tone this morning with this look. Also, as it is available in different colours, if you didn't want to go tone on tone, you could go with the black version of the top underneath it. So go with all black or the gold underneath it, so mix and match it a little bit as well.
I just do think there's a nonchalance to that shows a confidence, and it's just incredibly stylish. That's a fantastic outfit.
Really and I think it's age appropriate for lots of different ages as well. Someone who's more mature, it's definitely going to suit.
Very cool. Hannah's here this morning. Very bright dress, lovely dress.
Yes, we've gone with kind of berry tones, faux fur. Faux fur coats are always a classic piece for autumn, winter. Again, another really statement pair of earrings here at $11.96. So you can see they're layered hoop earrings. There's lots of layer into them, and they're a double layer as well. So with this season, it's all about standout earrings.
And
then
the coat.
With the coat here, faux fur, it's kind of a moss green. This is a statement coat that you're going to have every winter. Whether you wear it with a pair of jeans, a hoodie underneath it, it's going to work. It's going to work for your workwear with maybe a pair of check trousers, or it works with this dress underneath it, but a really statement piece.
Because the moss green, it's very big at the moment. Light blue jeans, you wear kind of a grey jumper and then wear it with your ankle boots.
Chunky knit, exactly. Really casual look you're going to be able to do with it. Also put a pair of leather trousers with it would work really well. The dress at $49.95, really vivid colour to this dress. We've belted it this morning, elasticated waistline with it, and then you can see the asymmetrical to the end of the dress, but really great for body shape as well because there's lots of materials, so there's lots of fit and flair to that dress, and the belt at $12.99.
Bag then is picking up on the green with the black from the belt as well.
Yeah, the checkered bag with a mix of black and green at €45 there.
And then you dolled it up with a pair of strappy sandals?
Yeah, we've gone with these classic pair of gold Guess strappy sandals, which are available from Divine Boutique. A classic pair that are going to go with lots of different things in your wardrobe.
I think it's going to be the coat that's the winner for me this morning already. It's gorgeous. Thank you, Hannah. Absolutely lovely.
And it's a cosy, comfortable piece, that coat that you're going to be able to throw with anything from dressy to casual.
Yeah, to remember that can be made very casual. Oh, bloodless, look at you.
Yes, we've gone with a little showstopper here. I think this dress would be perfect for a winter wedding for bridesmaids. It'd also be perfect for any events, balls that you might have coming up. A really vivid colour that we're seeing lots of for autumn, winter. Beautiful embellishment detailing on the shoulder of it. The earrings are €86, so you can see stone detailing, and then they go into that gold. So again, we're seeing lots of standout earrings this morning.
I love what you said about this dress, that it could be like anyone wear it, but if you were looking for 3 really good bridesmaids dresses.
Exactly. It'd be a perfect bridesmaids dress. You can see it's a really great cut to it. A little bit of a train to the back of it, so it's gone a little bit longer at the back. You've got a scoop neckline to the back of it as well there, and that embellishment continues.
At the back as well,
Exactly, and you can see the attention to detail and the design of it. It's a really great fit and shape to it. It's long sleeves, so as we're coming into winter, you might want for your bridesmaids dresses longer sleeves with it, and throw a little bit of faux fur and just really winter it up for a winter event.
Is it too nice for a bridesmaid's dress? My experience of the bridesmaids dresses I have been in, where you have to burn them afterwards.
Oh yeah, well, and never let the bridesmaids overshadow the bride.
Absolutely.
And just a little pair of shoes there.
And we've gone with the same shoes as the last outfit, so they are available in black as well. So they're those Guess shoes that we saw with the last outfit there.
Okay.
But in black.
So thank you, Blana.
Thanks, Blana. That's gorgeous on you.
And Sarah's back with us.
Sarah's back with us, and we've gone really luxe vibes here with this velvet two-piece. So it is sold as a two-piece, but it's really cool, wintry and luxe vibes with that. First off, we've got the earrings there, so you can see they're a dual tone earring. You can see lots of detail in those earrings as well. There, which I think work really well with this top because it's quite a simple, plain top, but it's all about a classic and chic with the top.
Whole thing
they
just
are
looks
from
really
Sorrento.
classy, really
Yeah,
does,
you just need earrings and nothing else.
Yeah.
You know? But like with it, you shouldn't be putting anything
No, you
else.
shouldn't be putting any jewellery or anything
exactly.
like that, yeah.
This is a two-piece, so it's sold with the top and trousers. It's $235 for the two-piece. You can see the attention to detail in the design because it appears as quite a simple top, but you can see that bellowing sleeve to it. Also, the top is a drawstring to the waist, so if you see the bow detail in there, that's the match to the trousers. So it is a green velvet. It looks more of a black there, I think, on camera.
It is.
Yeah, there is a green, but it's coming
real
up.
subtle, actually. It's lovely.
Yeah, really gorgeous. Those trousers, them real 70s vibes with them. They're high-waisted trousers. You can see the fit to them. They're just a great fit for this two-piece. And as well, if you buy this as a two-piece, you could wear them as separates as well.
It's quite Bianca Jagger, though.
It is, yeah.
Beautiful, it really is. And the shoes?
Beautiful piece. And then we've gone with a simple court shoe patent there just to finish off
Little
the
bit of
look
detail,
at €50.
little bit of gold
Yeah,
detail
a little
on
bit of gold detail into the back of it, but I just love that two-piece.
Sarah, them pants
lovely look.
with the sparkly top now
Yeah.
over, and she's fabulous over Christmas. They're gorgeous.
Exactly. And even the faux fur that we just saw would go great over that. And they're all available right now at Manor Mill Shopping Centre in Maynooth.
Rob, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I love that one. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Well, we were supposed to announce what's coming up after the
Yes,
show.
we are going to do that.
But I think everyone would rather watch a little earlier on when Yvette Fielding was on. I scared Muireann and Tommy. Just in case you missed it, have a look at this.
You've continued with the most haunting...
Very good. Very good. Now, we are going to try and get a slow-mo version of that by the end of the show because I think we'll just want to see it over and over again.
People are already sending me pictures on Instagram, and the one thing that I've noticed is Tommy's hands. Tommy, come here. Your hands go...
Who wouldn't be scared with Alan Hughes coming up behind you?
Yeah, we're back after the break. Don't go anywhere. Behave you.
Now, there once was a comedian that thought he'd have a bit of a laugh at my expense on stage. So now I get to interview him on live television, and he's getting it.
And now he gets to have,
Do you know what, if
have a laugh at you on live television, I think is what's going to happen right about now.
Alan hadn't scared the life. I still got the jitters after that, to be honest with you.
I don't know what to do. Andrew Ryan, hello. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
How are you? Yeah, it's good. First of all, I just want to start by apologising to Tommy. We've never met, but we've had many incidences where our paths have crossed through comedy. I'll give you the story. What happened was we have a mutual friend called Chris Henry, and he retired from rugby. He played for Ireland and Ulster, and he asked me to host a comedy night. And I turned up, and I'm a massive rugby buff. I love my rugby.
You are. Munster man through
Munster man, Ireland man, and I turned up anyway, and Tommy was in the audience, Ian Henderson was in the audience, Rory Best was in the audience, and I thought, oh my God, this is my big break. I'm going to be doing all the IRFU camps in the Shelburne the night before the games. It's going to be amazing. And then I went on to do my set. Everybody had left. So Tommy had left, and I was like, I walk on, I goes, where's Tommy Bowe? And everyone's like, he's left. I was like, typical. He didn't turn up for my set. He never turned up for the last Rugby World Cup either. and then Rory Best had left, and I was like, oh, here we go. I said, Rory Best has said he's the captain of Ireland. And then I was thinking to myself, God, the captaincy was the only thing he's held, because the last time I saw him, he kept on knocking the ball forward. So I was just tearing into them, and then everyone was like, Tommy, gone. So I started slagging you off. It was a joke, obviously.
He absolutely destroyed me.
Because you'd retired 2 years previously. Chris had told me, because Chris got up to go to the toilet, and I was like, oh, just be careful, you might get injured. And So what I did was I was like, oh, Tommy Bowe's retired, but he still turns up to the club to feel important. Do you know what I mean? He's just like throwing out, do you want to buy some shoes? Do you know what I mean? I was doing all this kind of stuff. And then I said to Chris Henry, I said, have you got Tommy's number? So I rang your phone from the stage and you never answered.
No, I did answer. So I was in bed and Chris Henry's number came up my phone and I said, oh no, what have I left behind? Whatever. I answered and I'm on loudspeaker on stage, Andrew, and I hung up straight away.
So I was tearing into him. So I wanted to perform in front of the Irish rugby players. And yeah, and then there was another incident where Chris was hosting a charity golf day and I was playing and I slagged off Ian Henderson and then next thing, Ian Henderson was put on my golf team. I was like, oh God, I'm so much trouble here. And then I had to leave and Chris said to me, oh, don't worry, I've got Tommy's going to host the event for us. And then I was like, this guy must hate me. And I've never met him, and I've slagged him off, and I've given him extra work. And today's the first day I've met you. So I just want to apologise.
Andrew, listen.
I just want to apologise.
All forgotten.
Look at this.
You wait till I say about you next week on stage.
And you know what? Those gigs the night before in the Shelburne, they ain't happening.
I know,
Sorry.
yeah, I know.
Hey, you've got a bit of pull with Ulster Rugby. Can you get him in?
A what? A bit of pull?
Bit of pull with Ulster Rugby. Can you get him in?
Have you not just heard what he's done?
Yeah, he'd be good.
We might have forgiven you, but not that far.
No, it's
Not
grand,
that far, not that far. How are you
Anyway.
doing? Because you are, like, you're living in Belfast. You've
I
been
know,
knocking around
yeah.
the place, Cork to London, in
Well,
Belfast.
the pandemic changed everything, obviously, for a lot of people. Yeah, I live in Belfast, and if you know me at a personal level, Muireann, you know that I'm a massive fan of tension within the community and lack of functioning government. So I thought that was just the best place for me to go, you know. So I live up in East Belfast, which I didn't realise until I actually moved in. So I live in a unionist British area, and it's great. It's great, really nice. People up there are very friendly. I have great crack with them. It's not what you think it is, because like when I was growing up as a kid, we would all have this perception of Northern Ireland through the news and stuff. But actually, when you go up there, it is savage crack. The people are incredibly friendly. Also, like I tried to live in Cork, but I couldn't get a mortgage because of the housing issue. And I thought the only place on the island of Ireland where I could live that would take sterling would be over the border, because I work in London a lot. So my income is split between sterling and euro.
Yeah.
So I went to Belfast and I've been there 2 years. I moved back to London for 4 months. And I said, no, I prefer Belfast, actually.
And how did a fella from Cork with the Cork accent settle into the unionist area in East Belfast?
Well, do you know what? One of my neighbours came up to me, really nice fella, and he's an electrician. He's come into my house to do a few jobs, and he came up to me one day and he said, what made you move? Why are you living up here? And I said, I'm actually part of the Sinn Féin relocation scheme. And he just started laughing, you know, like, and I was just messing with him, just having the crack with him, you know. And it's not a problem. Like, but I swear to God, I feel so comfortable there, you know, like, it's really nice. Yeah. And also, when you actually get involved in the community and stuff like that, like, what you hear on the news is not what is reality. People are just getting on with their lives. Yeah. They're so easygoing, so nice, so friendly. So, yeah, I've decided to stay because I really like it.
And it's given you kind of you've got a podcast now about being, you know...
Being from the south, living in the north. It's called Cork in the North.
Cork in the North?
Yeah, and I've been doing it. I started it in January, Cork in the North, and I've interviewed BBC presenters, I've interviewed rugby players, comedians, all that kind of... Fully booked for 2 years.
He doesn't want you.
So I'm only joking, Tommy.
One of these days.
I'll definitely get you on, man, if you're available and come on, yeah. But, yeah, so it's about basically being from Cork and living in the North. I'm trying to change the perception of the area as well. You know, like, you know, sometimes when I go down to Cork, people are always like, what the hell are you doing up there? And then when I'm living up there, Northern Irish people are like, what the hell are you doing up here? You know what I mean? So I just think that it's a really nice place
to live. For Cork people, though, once you go beyond Macroom, sometimes they're like, where are you going? What are you doing?
Well,
it's
yeah,
not just about
but I am slowly working my way back to Cork. So hopefully now there'll be a recession or something and the house prices will come down.
Oh, God, don't say that.
Oh, no, sorry, I shouldn't have announced it. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what we need. We need something bad to
it's going to take more than a recession to get those house prices down. But you're doing your bit for the shared island, which is fantastic.
Just integrating myself into the community.
Well done, you.
Tell us about going on tour.
Yeah, so I'm on tour in November. I've got a UK and Ireland tour. I'm doing Dublin, which has only got 2 tickets left. Belfast is sold out. I've put
2 tickets in the whole
2 tickets, the whole thing left.
Go now.
Last night. I've got Belfast sold out, extra show in February. I've got Galway Comedy Festival in October. And my big hometown gig then at the Everyman Palace in November.
East Belfast. Not
Belfast. Hometown, yeah, in Cork and Clonakilty. And then I'm over to the UK and doing shows like that, you know. So it's going really well. Like, wrote this kind of show during the pandemic and stuff like that. And so... Obviously, when we reopened this year, it was actually quite hard to get some space in the theatres because so many things were backlogged.
Yeah.
So November was the time to go out. So hopefully, yeah, like if you're around, pop in.
And it's called Yes, I Just Said That.
Yeah, and how the name came up, I've always had, like, tried to get interesting names. So the last one was called Did You Get Here All Right? Then the one before that was called Is Everything All Right at Home? But this one, my agent just said to me, like, I need a name for the show now. And I went, I can't do it now. She says, listen to me, I just said that. I need it now. And I just went, OK, we'll just call it Yes, I Just Said That.
Yes, I Just Said That.
But no one's going to come out of the show and be like, well, it was a really enjoyable hour and a half, but I didn't like the name of the show.
No, no one's going to... It's fine. You're actually sound.
Listen, if people want to get tickets, AndrewRyanComedy.com.
Or follow me on Instagram at AndrewRyanComedy.
Very good.
And Cork in the North.
Cork in the North podcast, Spotify, YouTube.
But both of you live in Belfast. You can go for pints now.
No, of course we'll go for pints.
I can't even get on the podcast.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie, but, like, you know, I'll probably be outside his house at 4 tomorrow.
Stalking him.
Hey, Tommy, you want to go play for 7-a-side?
Honestly, Lucy, I don't know who he is.
Do you like me shoes? Do you like me shoes? Do you like me shoes?
No, I don't, actually.
No, he doesn't. I was just about to say he doesn't.
I actually went on to look at your shoes last night.
Great
on your
value.
website. Yeah, massive reductions. Something going on. Everything okay?
Listen, we're trying to do our bit to help.
OK, listen, now, before we go, we just have to remind you that a little earlier on that Muireann and Tommy were interviewing Yvette Fielding, the ghost hunter, and I gave them a little bit of a surprise. Have a look at this in slow-mo.
No.
This is even better. Have a look at this.
No.
Look at Tommy Bow.
It's Muireann doing the hands.
So you were handies.
Yeah, sure, aren't you a great laugh, Al? To be fair...
Look at Yvette. See, Yvette was like...
Sorry, did anyone... It's just Tommy's handies. It's just his handies going like this.
Yeah, sure isn't it a bit of crack?
Sure,
honestly,
it's a bit
this
of
show,
fun.
you genuinely do not know what is coming up.
Thanks for joining us, for calming us down.
No worries, anytime.
From the madness of handies, Handygate.
OK,
very good. Join
Lord.
us tomorrow for a lot more Ireland DM. We want to be well, we might do something like
Any
that.
ideas on how to get him back? Because we're crap.
Oh, we'll get him back.
You will.
Worry.
He'll come up with something.
Right,
Get onto me
guaranteed.
Instagram and sort me out.
Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye. See ya.